as you go into watching this video, there is a couple of videos back that are also about conversations between me and Pastor M. Please go back and watch if you haven't already and enjoy this video. How do you bring the idea of solving problems to a level, let's say to the person who does not is not able to get those kinds of finances to do business work, or a high school student whose most of his time is academics, or even college students who are serious about education. Not all of us are, but those who are serious about education and academics is 24/7 for them. How does
so
one...
I can give some examples. When I was in college, I didn't like being broke. So I remember just a couple of things I did. Number one, I remember those days I went somewhere and I saw sale. And it was an expatriate sale. And they had conga drums, they had some furniture, they had a few things that were really good. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is such good stuff. I wish I could buy it. I don't have money. So I went to a lady in church. She was one of those aunties, those older mamas. And I was like, here's my plan. If you can give me this capital, I'll buy this and I'll pay you back.
You just straight up asked for money?
I just asked her for capital. And I told her, here's what I'm going to buy. And I told her it's good enough stuff that if I don't sell it, it's good enough that you'll even want it. But you know what I had? I had relationships. Yeah? So what do you have? What has God already put in your hands that you can use to multiply? So I had relationships. So she was able to trust me because one, I was in the worship team. I was a nice kid. I was one of those church kids like you. and so
Thank you. That's an endorsement.
So, but you know, it's you have relationships. There are people who look up to you because of who you are. They know your parents and they're like, yeah, we trust this guy. So I did that, and I was able to. I got those drums. First of all, I even sold the drums to our church. The church needed some drums. I'd noticed they didn't have good congas, so they bought them, and just the drums alone paid for everything else. And then I just made profit selling the other stuff. That's one idea. Another thing I did when I was in college is I noticed over Christmas that people didn't really have nice cakes back in the day. It's not like today when there's so many cake shops.
Yeah.
So I remember just going around and asking some of the ladies again in church. I use my church networks. And I was like, if I bake you a cake, could you pay me this much? And they're like, yeah. So I went to my girlfriend. Pastor Carol was my girlfriend. Then I was like, you know what, you know how to bake. So you can bake cakes for these mamas and they pay us. Now, I think they probably paid us because we're the kids in church. Yeah. Again, it's those ones of you helping. But we made a lot of money because we got several of them and they really helped us. So we got into quite a few of those business ideas where we're looking for problems. I remember one lady had too many, seeing her wardrobe, there were so many shoes. So I remember just designing a shoe bag where you could put the shoes and put them on a hanger and just hang them in a wardrobe. Oh my goodness, those things went like hotcakes. We would just go and buy material from Biashara Street, take it to our tailor there at University of Nairobi, and they'd make for us the shoe bags. But a lot of the times we're asking, what's a problem for people we can solve? You know, so using our heads to think, what's a problem for people we can solve? And sometimes it's not even an economic problem. Sometimes it's just saying, there's too much trash over here. How can we organize a group of campus students and get them to come and clean up? And then how can we approach a company here and say, please, we want to clean up this. Can you give us equipment and buy us lunch? And I'll get volunteers. And the company will be like, yeah, and then we can even wear your own branded stuff. Like, there were just ideas we had that we would use, and then we'd get money, not because we are trying to be hustlers, but because we're looking for problems to solve. When you practice becoming a problem solver, money will always find you. You'll always find new things that need to be done. But now, because you know you're made in God's image, you're not afraid when you see a problem. You run towards problems. You know, David ran towards Goliath. Yeah. Everybody else was running away. David was like, let's do this, you know? It's my time. Yeah. I've been practicing on these lions. Yes. Let me see if it works on giants. So what is the thing that God is giving you right now? As you're sitting at home saying, I've been home for 2 years. Is there a children's home that is next door? Go volunteer. They don't have to pay you. Just go say, I'm going to just be cleaning and helping you guys. You never know. The person you clean for might be your next boss who just gives you a job. You might see a need that they need and you say, oh, you guys are buying this. How much are you buying it? And you find a place you can go and get it cheaper and sell it to them. I mean, just by going out and serving, something begins to shift in your mind. So that's the entrepreneurship principle. And then we're going to talk about the retention principle. The retention principle is you must save something out of everything you get. The minute you get some pocket money, the minute you get a salary, whatever it is, you can't spend it all. It's irresponsible to spend it all. You must save at least 20% of everything you get. The minute you make this decision, my goodness, your life is going to be sweet. You're always going to find that you have extra money to invest. Because people always say, I don't have capital. Yeah, nobody gives you capital. You make capital. So any little, even if it's pocket money, like you put aside and you're able to say, this 20%, I put it into a savings and I don't touch it. And slowly it grows. Yeah. So I tell people, when I got married, I got married pretty early. I got married when I was 24.
24?
Yep. I got married when I was 24. And I knew that would wake up. I knew that would wake up somebody.
The pressures.
And here's the thing: when I got married, I paid for my wedding pretty much
in full,
most of it. And I paid for the furniture in my house. I bought, and that was all from hustles in campus. So you don't. And those days,
standards.
No,
Standards.
I'm just trying to say, when you understand God's principles for how money works, then you understand. I saved. All I did is I saved and then I multiplied. So I learned to save. So I'd get every allowance I got, everything I got, I'd always save. So I remember one time hearing my friend talk about how things were cheap in South Africa. This was back in the day. And I remember asking him, so how much is a ticket? And he told me, and I was like, I think I can raise that. And how much is stuff? So he told me about, he told me, let's do research. So we went to Kenyatta Market. And I remember all those ladies used to sell like ladies' clothes, bras and things like those. So I didn't know anything about those things, but I went and just asked them, so how much do you buy them? Would you buy if I brought you good quality at this price? They're like, yeah, sure. I was like, done. I got on a plane and went to South Africa. I was still in college.
You got
I'll never forget, it cost me 30,000 shillings. It was a lot of money to buy a ticket. Went, and that was all money we had saved. Went to their shop, the market this guy told me about. Sure enough, I could find the place, stuff very cheap. Bought like 2 full suitcases. I mean, I must have looked like a serious smuggler because 1 full suitcase is just bras and ladies' things, like stuff that I got in orders. The other stuff was clothes and everything. I got in, took it to Kenyatta Market, sold it all in one day. That's how I paid for, what did I pay for? I think I paid for our tickets to go to the States with my wife when we were going to study, do our masters. That's what I used that money eventually for later, after college. So I'm just trying to say, guys, you can actually, God has given you a mind to think. You can start to solve problems right now, small problems for people. Find out what is it that people need. What are the issues in our neighborhood? Are people struggling with babysitting? Can you volunteer and just say, let me babysit your kids? You're learning a skill of how to look after kids. And people will start paying you for that. One of the things we taught our kids when they were very young is how to clean up. And it's been very weird to see when they were younger, some of the opportunities. I remember one time, one of our daughters was so good at cleaning up that in the middle of a birthday party, when everybody was playing, she just saw all the dishes in the kitchen. She was like, oh my God, she was so bothered. So she went and started washing dishes and she washed. The lady of the house came and was like, oh my God, you're washing the dishes. Kagal is like, no, don't worry, I got this. And she finished the dishes. Do you know, when she came home, the mom brought us 5 socks. And said, I'd have paid a maid to wash this things. Can you handle this for your daughter? I was like, well done. You have a skill and you've become good at it and people are paying you for it. When my son went to boarding school, I realized he was balling. Like the guy had too much cash and I was like, what the, I mean, like,
don't remember
I didn't give you that kind of cash. So I'm like, this guy steal money. How is he so rich? Then he told me, when I realized, I started laughing because basically we taught them to wash their clothes very young. Like when they were like in primary school, they were washing all their clothes. So he goes to boarding school and realizes none of these silly kids know how to wash their clothes. So he creates a laundry list. Shirt, this much. Shorts, this much. Trousers, this much. And he puts it out to his friends. And his friends start saying, yeah, I need someone to wash my clothes for me. So he starts making, some of them didn't have chums, they'd pay him with ngumus. But the guy was the most loaded young boy. You know, he had so much cash. I was like, hey, I need to get you out of this school. You're getting distracted, you know? So again, it's just saying, what skills has God given you? What are the things you can do? How do you do them to bless other people? And in the process, you're building skills that will one day make you a very marketable person. Don't lock yourself and say, I'm an actuary, I'm a marketer, I'm a this. God has made you to have skills. Develop any and every skill that you have. When you hear guys are climbing mountains, go. You know, guys are going on hikes.
I'm still not being convinced.
Go on the hike.
Still not being convinced.
Go on the hike. You never know. The person who you walk with might be your next boss. You might learn a skill that ends up becoming such a valuable skill for you. You know, little skills that you don't even think are going to be helpful. Some of you are learning, maybe the girls will learn how to make hair for your sisters. It sounds like a really dumb thing, except when you go to the States, you realize that could pay you a lot of money.
Yeah, people don't know.
People don't know how to do that, you know. So you could find yourself earning on the things that everybody looked down on just because you learned to serve others. So don't look down, even on the chores at home. Become good at whatever it is. Become excellent, because that's how you're going to end up becoming. Too many people are mediocre. It's like, you're only paying me. They only paid me to do this.
And
that's all I'm giving them. I'm giving them what they paid me for.
They don't pay me enough.
And I'm not giving them more value than what they paid me for. That's the foolishest thing. Because when you're young is when, what are you gaining? You're gaining experience. People look down on experience, but it's an important thing because you're building. I read this book by a guy called Malcolm Gladwell. It's called The Outliers. And he said, behind every overnight success is 10 years of training. Get it?
10 years.
Every overnight success. You know, those guys were like, they just showed up and everybody's like, they were discovered. They were lucky. They got their lucky break. Behind every lucky break is 10 years of training. These people, and he gives examples of people like Bill Gates, some of the famous bands, people who seem to have been discovered luckily. And then he tells you, let me show you what they were doing 10 years before that. And you're like, OMG. I mean, these guys, when everybody else was partying, they were working at improving their skills. They were working at becoming excellent in what they were. When they were finally discovered and people thought, oh, they're so lucky. Oh, they just have rich parents. Oh, they were just, I wish somebody could discover me.
Nepotism babies.
Nepotism babies. You had no clue that these guys had been working on their skill and becoming excellent at what it is. So I'd like to say, these are some of the things that God's word has taught me. And as a result, I've been able to create really good wealth that I want to pass on to my children's children. But my vision is also to help people to learn. Imagine if you could learn it now, if people could learn it now. I'm lucky because, and I'd say lucky, I don't believe in luck, but I feel blessed that God taught me these things in my 20s, early 20s. And that God put mentors in my life that could teach me these things. Again, when many of my young people are saying there's nothing to learn from Wazez, I hang around with people who are 10 years older than me a lot. So I learned to think like them, you know. And so I got a head start over my generation that I've always appreciated. And my prayer for this generation, the guys who are watching this, is that you'd get a head start. Even from videos like this, you'd get a head start. You'd find people you can learn from. Because you'll always find that, my goodness, the Bible says, get wisdom. Wisdom is far more precious than money. It's far more precious than silver. And it's true. The more wisdom you get, the more you learn how to manage money. School doesn't teach you how to manage money.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest tragedies in life. Yes. But the more you get taught, and the more you get mentored, the better for you. So don't look for a job. That's the last thing I'll say. Don't look for a job.
Yeah, okay.
Look for problems to solve. And number 2, look for mentors to help you solve them. So who's your mentor as a young person? Who are a couple of people who are 10 years older than you, 20 years older than you, that you can say, this is somebody I go and ask questions. This is somebody I want to learn about how they've made their wealth. This is somebody who, and you know, the good thing with a mentor is you're able to see everything about them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the people on social media, they show you the beauty of their money. They don't show you about how their marriage really works. So they can show you a path that you follow it and destroy everything else to get that money. So look for mentors that you admire. You look at them. I like that guy's marriage. I like how they manage their kids. Their kids still like them. They think they are really cool. I want to be like that. I like how, and these are the people I want to hang out with. And I need to surround myself with a few people like those that will help me. And because Nairobi Chapel, the church I was in, had many people like that, my wife and I really got a lot of those like uncles and aunties. And people like to share knowledge. They just like people who hang out with them and say, teach me how you did it. And what would we do? We'd find ways to serve them. So we became expert babysitters, by the way. Because we'd just be like, if you ever need to go on a date, call us. We'll come and look after your kids. And guess what that means? The minute I enter your house, you feel obliged to me. You're like, this kid, I need to invest in this kid. So we are those kids that people invested in. And oh my goodness, we learned so much in our young 18s, 19s, 20s that put us 10 years ahead of our peers. And wisdom will always beat money. Money always flows towards wisdom. So even if you make a fat deal and you steal money, that money will flow away from you towards people who are wise. So that's why you want to get wisdom before you even get money.